Alright, we are down here in a dungeon. This is jigging that I've done on this. It actually looks pretty good. And I'm going to go ahead and dye this. So this is also my first day of dyeing. And so I told my wife I was going to go dye. And she turned the TV off and she said, "What do you mean?" I was like, dye. I'm going to go dye the bone I told you about. Women. Okay. So, most guys would just dunk this down. I'm not doing that because I want to kind of keep this speckled black. That's right here that you can see. And I want it dark in the middle. So one of the things I want to experiment with is I think you can just put this stuff in like this, and I think it's going to work that way. So that is one of the things I want to experiment with. So I'm not looking at a time limit here. You can see how I've put that in a jig bone like that. And then perhaps after that's soaked in some, you know, I may go ahead and dip the whole thing in. I can see already you're just not going to get the coverage unless you dip it in. So I got to figure out some system just to get a certain amount on an area. Here, I did go ahead and round these edges a little bit with some yeah, that's going to work good if it works. You can see it right there. We'll see. I'll leave that there for a little bit. Oops. We'll see if that works. Alright, we've got about 25 minutes in the water here. You can see it. Kind of looks brown. I'm going to give it some more because I want it black. You can see it over here. So what I settled on is I just poured a little tiny bit to fill those grooves in there, but it shouldn't hit the sides here. And I'm just going to let that sit again. We're doing a cold application here. It's an experiment. Rather than dunking the whole thing down there, I'm just putting them in the grooves. I think that'll work. But we may actually have to leave that in, you know, like 8 hours. I don't know. We'll see. When I first turned it over, it kind of looked brown. It was black in the grooves, but just kind of like a brown color. So we're gonna stick with it. Alright, this has been going for a little bit. I don't think that's as black as I want it to be. We're going to go wash it off and see what it looks like. Alright, we had quite the journey with this knife. I haven't washed this off yet. You can see the other side's been washed off. This looks pretty good. Let me wash this off here real quick. Alright, we're going to look at this, see what kind of job we did here. Alright, so that's pretty black in there. That's what I was looking for. You're not going to get much blacker than that because there's not a lot of surface area there. It's heavily jigged. Can get a good look now at that jigging that we've done, and I'll dry this out. Boy, I don't know. You know, I think I'm gonna hit that. I think I'm gonna hit that again. Okay, yeah, we're gonna go one more on this side right here. This was a light side to begin with, so we're gonna try again, see if we'll get a little more in there. Alright, we'll try it a little later. Alright, I think we're about at the end of our journey. This is what that bone came out looking like. And I'll just put up right there what it looked like when I started. And so you can see. Here's the other side, what it looked like. This razor side is still light. You can see it right here. But the grooves darken up quite a bit. And you can see I was able to maintain that speckled sides like I wanted to. It's a little lighter, although it did accept some dye. So I thought there, as I did before I started this process, sand these areas, and if you don't want it to accept any dye, probably be a good idea not to sand it, just to leave it with some polish on there, and that might protect it from absorbing. It did absorb some dye here. You can see it darker here. But it's not coming off now. And I could try burning that to make it darker. But it's kind of hard to tell, I guess, because I have a dark background here. But it's pretty black, and I'm satisfied with it. So what I ended up doing is just taking this RIT dye. Initially, I used a combination of 1 to 4. 1 RIT dye to 4 water. And I put that on there for 20 minutes. It soaked in a little bit, but it wasn't very black. And then I tried it for another 20 minutes. And then I said, well, I'll just leave it overnight. So that... you know, it worked, but it didn't give me this dark color. And so I decided just to go full strength on the RIT dye on there, and I left it for 12 hours, and that worked. So I did the other side for 12 hours, and that worked. but it was still kind of light here, which you could still see it's kind of light. I did it again. So I started on Monday. It's now Wednesday, and I've done each of these with full strength for 12 hours at a shot. And cold dye, you know, it's worked. So now what I want to do, I'm going to let this dry just a little bit more down here in the dungeon. And then I'm going to polish it. And I'm hoping this doesn't come off when I polish it. But we'll see. I think polishing it, you know, will darken it. And it'll look pretty good. But I think that jigging looks awesome on there. This side is not as chewed up as this side right here. It's about the same. You see the mark there? And then you see the mark there. So good job at keeping it pretty close. And yeah, so we'll do one more shot of this and then I'll close it out. I stopped the jigging video without any ending really, and that's because I was going to do this, but the video was getting long, so I decided, you know, I'll just do another video showing the dye job. So let me polish this up and then we'll take another look at it. All right, good morning. We're at the end of this journey. I went ahead and polished this, and you can see the dye is dark and it held. So I have a high speed buffer, and you know, it didn't come out. The dye didn't come off with the buffer. So this is dyed down into the bone here, and on the sides here, you can see there is some right there, some marbling. It shows better over here. Yeah, you can see here the marbling. Now this is an area where you can see it's kind of rough, where I was jigging and did not smooth that over, round it over, which I should have done. But it also tells me that if you know, don't sand these areas, it's going to sink in better, because here's the other side. And this, I did hit the tops here. You can see that, but I didn't hit the very top. You can see it still has the original surface on it, and that didn't really take the dye at all. So if you want it to take the dye, you've got to disturb that surface and stain it. This was the weak side. This is a side that in the original picture, it was a lot lighter than the other side. And you can see it's still a lot lighter than the other side. But again, it did get into that bone and it did stay there. I also was able to preserve that speckling that I wanted to preserve from the original dye of this knife. You can see it's lighter here. And that was a goal of mine, to do that. So even this is darker. It did accept some dye here. So this is a little darker, but again, I was able to maintain a lot of that speckling on there and have it darker in the middle. And that's kind of what I was going after. So what do you think? You know, you like that jigging on there? You know, the reason I dyed it black, it was black beforehand. And so I just wanted to take it back to its original. And I can actually, these high areas I could burn probably, and it probably look pretty good. But I just wanted to show it before I did anything else to the knife. I don't know that I will burn it. But lessons, a takeaway here. Number one, can you cold dye a knife without the dye being warmed up? Yeah, there's a proof. Number two, will that dye wipe off? No, you know, it's set into the bone. That's obvious because I used a high-speed buffer on this and it didn't take the dye off. Number 3, if you're going to spot dye, which, you know, if you have an area like maybe your knife got damaged, scraped on concrete or something, and you're just trying to, you know, spot dye that area and bring the color back, you can do that. Number 4, it was much more effective to use the dye full strength. And I would say that's a good way to save your dye too, because it doesn't take a whole lot of dye with a paintbrush to apply it here. And that's a really cost-effective way for the dye, and it worked the best, frankly, is just put it full strength directly on here, and it worked just great. You can see that. And you even got some good speckling here. So cold dyeing works. Full strength application is the best if you're going to do that. If you want it to marble and sink in, you need to disturb the surface, sand it up a little. You could rough it up a little. You can see that right there. And overall, this was a fun project. If you're going to cold dye, you know, it's going to take a couple days. I also suspect, as I watched people dyeing their knives, dropping them in for 10 minutes, that it's just not enough time to soak into this bone. Right? You could see it has soaked in here. And, you know, I suspected that watching these videos, and that happened to me too. I mean, it dyed, it darkened, but it was really light. And I wanted it to be black like this. And to do that, you just have to let these things sit a little bit longer. So we're going to continue these dyeing experiments. I'm going to try some different things. I'm going to try blocking, like putting polish here and dye in the middle. I'm going to do some browning first and then dye. I don't think that'll work, because if you were to brown this, burn it, you know, it's going to carbonize, and I think it's not going to accept the dye very well. So I don't think that'll work, but I'll try it. You know, we're just experimenting, trying to come up with the best dyeing techniques for my viewing audience. I think it looks awesome. There's the pictures up there of the previous one, and you can see that this looks a lot better. So I did pick up, these came later. I ordered some. You can see these square things, how they're square, and they're for making dados in the wood. But yeah, this is really, if you use this kind of bit and put it on an angle like this, it's going to create a V in a high spot in your cut here. It's going to create these high spots, and you can see the V there. But the other type of let me get that for you. Okay, here's the other type. You can see these are rounded, and that, of course, is going to make a round, smooth groove. And so these really don't work if you want these sharp-looking grooves like you have right here, and the high points. You could see the angle on that right there. And that's from taking a square bit like this and holding it at a 45-degree angle, and that's probably the best way to do it. There's all kinds of different bits. You can see here, that's the type of groove you're going to get in these right here, and some big ones. So I could have made a lot better aggressive grooves if I had this bit to start with. But the one I had was about this size right here. That's what I did all that with. So, yeah, these little things that come in the Dremel kits, you really need one like this right there, the square type, to get some really good grooves there. And as we go on, I'm going to re-groove some other ones. We'll do some different patterns. I just wanted like a chaotic, exotic kind of pattern in it. And I think that came out pretty good. So thanks for watching the video. I hope this really helped you all out. And we'll see you later. Sorry for the live show. I'm just feeling like crap. I've got COVID. And so I couldn't think straight. And I don't think the live show would have been very good. So I apologize for not putting it out there. But, you know, we'll get back and do another one. Thanks again.